if I'm looking to invest in companies that are digital asset classes, and I'm coming in and I don't know too much about the space, but I'm interested in it. Is it margins? Is it ROI? What makes me move this way instead of more traditional, safer, or what seem to be safer type investment paths? Like, is it just cutting edge, blazing territory that gets me in this space? Would you even consider it more of a high risk investment in a way? So like, what's my hook here? Like, what makes me say I'm gonna move towards digital assets over traditional investing?
Yeah, to explore that, let's talk about tokenization.
All right.
Right. So tokenization simply states. So tokenizing in the context that we're talking about essentially means that you create a unique digital asset that either represents a physical asset or is backed by a physical asset. So we'll get into these distinctions in a second. Or actually, let's go further.
Yeah.
You could tokenize anything in this world. So my theory is everything that you see around you will be tokenized. Okay. Let's take a few examples. This table can be, and at some point will be, tokenized. Why? We'll get into why in a little bit.
Okay.
This building that we are in, a real estate, that will be and actually already is being tokenized. I've seen projects where we will create, or we are creating, your hologram, Scott's hologram, and that is then cryptographically secured so that there only could be one Scott's hologram.
Right.
And that's tokenization. The question becomes who owns that, right? So let's say that you are Michael Jackson, and somebody created a hologram for you, and they say, I own this hologram.
Right.
We have all kinds of issues. Right? I'll give you some other interesting things that are being tokenized.
Okay.
So you could tokenize companies' equities. You could tokenize, if you know what is REIT, which is essentially will pay you dividends.
Right.
So you could tokenize dividends of a fund or of a company. You could tokenize your identity.
I've heard maple syrup.
Right? But anything.
Right.
So there's a digital twin of a physical asset. Or, check this out. NBA just put this out. They're partnering with a company that created CryptoKitties.
Okay.
CryptoKitties was the first, let's say, successful example of digital art being tokenized and secured by cryptographically secured blockchain.
Okay.
Right? So NBA just partnered with CryptoKitties to tokenize moments of sporting events, for iconic sporting events. So think about, what's your favorite sport?
Probably basketball.
Okay, basketball. So what's your favorite iconic moment of some championship win in basketball?
Good or bad?
Either one.
Yes.
Let's go with good first time.
It's got to be a Jordan buzzer beater for another ring.
Okay. Let's say that I could create a video from there of that exact moment, and then I can ensure that is the only video that exists, is the official one, and you get to own it. Only you are the one on this planet that can own it. To really understand the value of this, go back to childhood when we used to trade baseball cards, right? Or fantasy sports right now, right? So you could tokenize an iconic video. In fact, NBA is doing that. Guess what? Once NBA does it, all the other leagues are going to do it. You're going to see it in soccer, you're going to see it in cricket, you're going to see it in rugby, you're going to see it in tennis. There's so many millions of sports fans out there. Right? So the way I look at this world of digital assets and what could you tokenize, there are two paths. One are divisible tokens or fungible tokens, and then there are non-fungible tokens. So fungible tokens mean something that could be divided into multiple parts, and then you could make a sum of the parts, which is the same. They're uniform. So for instance, we talk about cryptocurrencies. So if I took 5 Ether and divided them into 5 Ethers and put them together,
Mhm.
they still give me the same 5 Ether.
Yeah.
Right? Versus something like a tokenized version of a Van Gogh painting.
Okay.
Right? It's not divisible. It's not uniform.
Right.
Right? So that becomes the non-fungible token. Similar for the video. You couldn't cut the video and say this is the same video.
Right.
Or Nike just announced they're coming out with crypto sneakers. So they're going to put out cryptographically secured art in sneakers,
Really?
and you get to buy it.
Mhm.
It's a collectible item. So that's a non-fungible token.
Okay.
Right? So fungible, non-fungible. Now let's go down the path of fungible, and let's talk about your original question of why.
Yeah.
Let's say that I tokenize this building.
Mhm.
It's a real estate building,
Right.
right? So today, as an investor, as a retail investor, let's say this building is $50 million worth,
Okay.
but you have $1,000 in your pocket to invest.
Right.
Does there exist a mechanism for you to invest your $1,000 in this $50 million building?
No.
Why? Because that's the way we've set it up previously.
Right.
Without going into that, if you had a token that represented the $50 million worth of investment of this
Mhm.
building, we could give to a private individual investor a fractional ownership of this asset.
Okay.
Right? Let's say that there is an iconic property that could be tokenized,
Mhm.
and let's say it's from my hometown, and I want that feeling of being a part of that iconic property, the subculture there, etc.
Mhm.
It's some roots that I connect with. I could own maybe 5 tokens of that property.
So, community restoration initiative.
Exactly. So think about it as in terms of crowdfunding,
Mhm.
but in a digital token format, where the idea then is once you have raised the money with that kind of tokenization, you can then put this digital token on a secondary market exchange where it could be traded.
Okay.
Now we're talking.
Yes.
So the answer to the why for tokenization
Mhm.
is threefold. Liquidity,
Mhm.
liquidity for the asset itself.
Right.
2, you can own fractional ownership,
Mhm.
which you couldn't do today,
Right.
right? 3, you can actually trade it easily, securely, globally. So if I asked you, can you trade a portion of this building globally with somebody sitting in Thailand or Korea?
Right.
The answer is no.
No.
But we are moving towards that world where that will not just be easy, but it'll be commonplace. It'll be natural to do so.
Right.
Does that help understand a little
Yeah,
bit better?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's a million examples of things that you could do with that sort of thing, and even down to the confirmation part of if it was a community restoration project,